Hey y'all. So, in my efforts to keep more positive thoughts around me, I've just kind of been taking a hiatus a little bit from the live chats because I find all the different points of view and how combative a lot of people are, and just the infighting between the creators and just the trials themselves. It's just the injustice of certain things and the decisions that will be made, and then you're in the live chat and then they're exacerbated by everybody commenting, and I'm just like, it's too much. So I decided to, and really when I watched the Karen Reed hearing, this latest one, I was just struck by when I saw Alan Jackson. Honestly, I never have been one to be quote unquote triggered, because I hate that word anyway. It's just so overused. But I have to say, when he started talking, I felt triggered, not because of all the injustice in the Karen Reed case, as much as all that support for her. And it just kind of reminded me of it all when I heard him start speaking, like on the courthouse steps, where he was like, we don't have any quit, and just defending her to his death like he did. And it's just so, it just makes me feel horrible. And I am not ready to watch another, 3-4 months. To wait another 3 or 4 months and then watch that and go through that all again. No, not doing that. If anything, at the end of the trial, I might rewatch it and then just see, if the outcome is decent. Otherwise, I'm going to pass on that too. Because I really have found in the past few weeks, with the election of Trump, which, as I mentioned in that other video, I was just feeling so... I'm a positive person by nature, and I always try to see the humor in things, and I always try to, make myself laugh. And I'm really a high-spirited person, and I never, ever, ever get depressed. But the closest I've been to getting depressed was this last year, I guess, just seeing so many things, especially all the wokeism, and I hadn't even realized how much it bothered me, how you have to be so careful of everything you say. I wasn't even aware of the stress that brings into your life when you interact with people, but since the build up to the election in that last week, and then, watching the few days afterwards, and like I had mentioned, I tuned into Megyn Kelly, and I just started to understand how horrible it is to be told what you can think and say. And if you don't, then you're, chastised and banished from places. And it's just gotten so out of control that, believe it or not, even in their efforts to be open-minded and tolerant, by going the other extreme and not allowing you not to feel the way they do, that's like a dictatorship. And, I know these aren't new thoughts. You could tune on any YouTube channel and you'll hear it all. But I hadn't really realized the stress that it brings to interact with people and have to keep your opinion to yourself all the time, or have to be so worried about what your opinion is and how you phrase it and what you say. And, it's just like, and some of the lives, I'm not going to mention any names, but some of them had their mods were just so dictatorial, just like that, trying to tell you how you should phrase a certain sentence. And I was just like, really? Who needs this? I certainly don't. So I've just kind of stepped back a little bit, and I'm feeling so much lighthearted, just not surrounding myself with that kind of ick. But anyway, so back to why do I call her Harley? Carly Gregg. I was struck by so many similarities in that trial as with the Jennifer Crumley case. And I didn't even realize until maybe the last day that it has even more in common with that case. And I'll cite all my different reasons. So I'm going to start out with the fact that they were both, Ethan and Carly, were both 14 years old, and they both had a history of, crazy thoughts and journals and so many things that, according to the public, if Jennifer had paid attention and taken more of an interest, Jennifer Crumley had taken more of an interest and been more proactive with her son Ethan, that they could have prevented that tragedy at, I want to say I don't even know, there's so many school shootings, but his school shooting. And you know something? When I saw the verdict in that trial and I watched all the psychiatrists the Carly Gregg trial, and I see how much effort Ashley put into getting her child the help that she thought she might need to cope and to deal. And you know what? The outcome, while it wasn't a school shot up, it was her own mother who Carly supposedly loved. And on some levels, I think she did. She got killed. And so the first question I have is, why wasn't the father charged? Everybody's talking about, oh, there's something going on there with the dad and he's this and that. But, I don't really believe it. I think he was a good stepdad because he didn't overstep his place. Carly had a father and he recognized that. But he was supportive and they had a good relationship. And I really believe that in some rare instances, you can bring another husband into the family when you've divorced your other husband. For the most part, I think if you see resistance from your child with the new person in your life, you need to prioritize and maybe not force the child to then live with this person that you're picking. But if you introduce another man or woman, depending if you're a male or female, I'm not trying to be they, them. I think if the child responds well to it, I don't think there's anything wrong with slowly, step by step, remarrying or redating or dating and then remarrying or whatever. And I don't think that had anything to do with Carly's freak out. And so I really thought that he was a good stepdad. And you could see for the most part, they were a pretty happy family. But Carly had adjustment problems from a very young age. But what child doesn't? It is so stressful for kids. Just everything is. If you bring another child into the mix by having another baby, that can traumatize them not being the only child. If you get divorced, that can traumatize them. Just things that are unpreventable can traumatize them, much less if you abuse or are, harmful to that child. But I'm just talking about regular good parenting. Lots of things can traumatize your child that are really out of your control. School in itself is just a trauma for kids, being around all that peer pressure and everything. So I just, think that regardless of all that Ashley did, this happened. And quite frankly, I think if the whole reason that the whole world blasted Jennifer is because they felt she didn't do enough. She left too much responsibility to the school. But the truth of the matter is, from what I can tell from that case, if I was going to compare them, and I'm not saying you need to, it was an inevitable outcome. Look at James Holmes from the movie theater shooting. I don't know if you followed that case, but that was pretty fascinating too, because he, like Carly, had never, ever done anything, never even gotten, I think he got one speeding ticket during the week that he was having his mental breakdown. But before that, he followed the law to the letter, and he paid all his bills on time, and he was respectful to his parents, and he was, kind of quiet, but a good dude. And it just took that week of all the pressures from school and the girlfriend breaking up with him, and he just had a psychotic break and shot up the whole movie theater and almost blew up his apartment building. And there were no signs, not any real signs, and he did have some psychiatric intervention prior to that. So I just don't think that everybody that was so hard on Jennifer, I think they really, and I've been feeling this way from the day I heard about the case. I felt they could have cut her a break because she wasn't a completely checked out parent. She wasn't like abusing him. She wasn't neglecting him to the point where, he wasn't eating. And she thought she was doing a halfway decent job. Yes, she had a lot of other interests. Her horses were, in a way, her main priority. And even though I'm not saying that it's better to love your horses over your child, if you think about it, when you look into a horse's eye and you see his soul, it's something very special. And if you've never done it, you need to. But it's a little bit understandable, in my opinion, why she got so much peace and enjoyment from her horses. I mean, horses don't talk back. They don't go through puberty. They don't give you any grief, and they give you all glory. And so I kind of understand how maybe you could kind of get lost in it and start to neglect your family a little bit. I don't know. One of the things that really bothered me in that Jennifer Crumley trial, and the prosecutor, well, the defense attorney, as good as she was, she left off one point, and every time the prosecutor said, well, you went to the barn and you tried to get Ethan to come to the barn, it sounded like they were saying to the bar. And so if they didn't say 20 times a trial to the bar when they were saying barn with an N, but it sounded like bar, if I was Shannon Smith, I would have jumped up every time and said, or I would have at the start said, could you please call it the horse farm and not the barn? Because calling it the barn, people just weren't really paying attention. And in their mind, because it happened to me so many times, and I had to remind myself, he's not saying bar, like where they're drinking and having a great time. They said bar. And there's even like a therapy out there, equine therapy, and it's through horses, for people that have anxiety or whatever. There's actually therapy that they can get from tending to horses and all of that. So I thought Jennifer in her head, she was trying to get Ethan interested in the horses. She wanted him to develop a love for them as much as she had. And I don't think there was anything wrong with that. It didn't happen, because try and get a kid that's crazy about video games and everything that, Facebook and all that, try and get them away from that to care about horses, I guess isn't easy. But anyway, so I don't really think that if they would have gotten Ethan the help that they needed, it would have been a guaranteed outcome, and he would never have shot up the school. I just don't think you can foretell that to the point where you can throw all this hate on Jennifer. I mean, the husband, maybe, because some of his jail calls just kind of revealed him to be a really ugly person, and he wasn't right in the head, I think. He wasn't sorry, I don't know. But Jennifer, I definitely think that her life blew up from the minute he shot up that school. And even if you think, oh, she deserves everything she got, I don't think so. Because without even a prison sentence, I think that woman has paid 100 times over for the life that she had the day before Ethan shot up that school. I mean, think about it this way. She woke up, she had 2 horses, she had a good job, she was having an affair. Not that I'm sanctioning that, but I mean, like 70% of the country have had affairs at one time, so can they really point fingers? Just for the record, I never have. Never been one to believe that you should start one thing before you finish the other. But that's just me, not judging. But anyway, so her whole life she had a house, and from what I understand, the house wasn't so clean, so she really would have needed to work on that for me to truly admire her. Because a messy house, not a messy house. Messy houses are cool, but dirty houses, no. But anyway, so I just think that she had a decent life right up till the day. I mean, it was kind of chaotic and whatever, but she looked good. She cared about herself. You saw how pretty she was when she went to the cop car. She had, pretty nails, nice hair, dressed well, was nice and thin, had it going on in the looks department, and had a decent job, and owned her own house, and she, for all intents and purposes, thought she had a good family. I mean, they would do things together, go camping. I mean, there weren't any real indications that that family was in total crisis. They may have been, but there weren't any outward signs unless you're sitting there scrutinizing or Monday morning quarterbacking, then yeah. But I'll bet there's a billion families that don't realize, and then it could divert like that, but then sometimes it doesn't, thank goodness, but it could. But anyway, so I just think her life got blown up so bad. I mean, think about it. She goes to bed, let's say on a Monday, and wakes up and does her morning and then goes to the school. And then by the afternoon, she gets the phone call, what he'd done. And by that evening, she is calling the farm to say, hey, I need to sell my horses, which couldn't have been easy because if the last time you saw your horses, you didn't know it was goodbye forever, it can be traumatizing. But again, I may be over empathic when it comes to her and her horses. But even still, so that night she was like, I got to sell my horses. I got to pay for my son's defense and everything. Not even in her ionosphere that she was about to be arrested the next day and had to sell her house and everything else and wake up the following morning with all these FBI agents pointing guns at her, and for the rest of her until today is moved around in chains. I mean, who could wrap their head around that? And with all that, she still managed to get on the stand, and she did not boo-hoo once. She didn't try to say, poor me. And yet, the public, so unforgiving, which bothers me so much because to me, I know that there are so many people that say, I could never abandon my child mentally like that. I would care about everything and I would see all the signs. And yeah, okay, good luck with that. But let's just say that it's true and you wouldn't. Surely your sister or your brother or your father, mother, friend, best friend, cousin, whatever, it could happen to them. And if it did happen to them, that their child went and shot up a school and got a hold of the parents' gun or whatever, would you be that merciless? I mean, wouldn't you try to have some sympathy for them and even feel like, oh, well, justice, they need justice for those families, they should have locked that gun up. And I get all that. But wouldn't you have still been kind to them? Wouldn't you have still tried to be supportive? Yes, that's the answer. I don't care what you say, it's yes. But Jennifer, for whatever reason, the brand of hate that came her way, oh my goodness, it broke my heart because like I said, her life blew up, and even if she wouldn't have gone to prison and had the year and a half leading up to learning if she was going to prison, which had to be more stressful than anything I can ever imagine, she had a terrible thing happen to her life. Her family as she knew it, everything she loved, knew, gone in an instant. And then the trauma and stress of a trial and expense. And then the outcome, a prison sentence of 15 years? My heart broke for her. That's all I'm going to say. Well, I know nobody agrees with me, maybe one person. But anyway. But then you flip to Heath, I'm not sure what his last name is. I know it's Carly Gregg and Heath, whatever. I mean, think about it. Yes, she tried to kill him too. But were any charges filed against him for the murder of his wife, for the gun? Excuse me. Hold on. That was found, unlocked up, no cabinet, and Carly was free to take the gun and kill the mother and possibly shoot him. Now, I know he's a victim, but he can also be a criminal in terms of if you compare what they're starting to prosecute, the parents of children that can get their hands on guns. I don't understand why he was exempt from any charges, because if that gun, which was in his house, and even though it was Ashley's gun, if it had been locked up, we wouldn't even be discussing this. So I kind of don't understand why they did not pursue charges on Heath. So anyway, so that was kind of the comparisons, and then I don't know if I mentioned, but Carly was 14, Ethan was 14. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but it is amazing to me what goes on in the minds of 14-year-olds. I can't even. And from what I saw, it went on from the time she was like 8 or 9. I mean, just starting to act out and do drugs and Carly, I didn't get any indication that Ethan, I heard from some of the people discussing, he was a little sarcastic, a little playful. He liked to prank. But Carly was downright, I mean, she was so narcissistic. It's hard to understand at such a young age. But watching Carly, I just saw so much Sarah Boone, except she wasn't anywhere near as talkative as Sarah Boone. But it was just blowing my mind. She would have been if, she'd lived longer out of prison. Gosh only knows the havoc she would have created. But she seemed to pick an early time to do her her deeds. But anyway, but I'm just saying, like, Ethan was brought into the courtroom every day or the couple of days at his hearing in chains. Carly, she's walking around the courtroom like she's at a book fair. And it just blew my mind. And just, there was so many similarities and parallels, but yet the outcome was really kind of different, except that they both got life, which is kind of cool. But anyway, so that is my take on the Carly Gregg. I know there's probably so much more because I was the second time I watched it, I just noticed so many things that I had not seen before. For one thing, that judge was just a jerk. I mean, he was so dramatic, and I don't know, I didn't care for him. The best judge I ever saw in my life was Judge Carlos Samore, and he sat over the James Holmes trial for the movie theater shooting in Colorado. And let me tell you, if you ever are looking for something to watch, that's the best one ever for many reasons. For one, it went on for 6 months, so there's a lot of videos. And for another, the Denver channel carried that trial with each day a full 8-9 hours, one at a time. It's on their playlist on the Denver channel. And the prosecutor was so good. I can't think of his name off the top of my head because I can't remember. But all the prosecutors were so good, and the defense lawyers were so good, and everybody spoke so well. I mean, audio-wise, and the judge, he was amazing because he gave so much fairness to both sides. He didn't pontificate. He was just amazing. And then if you watch what he said after the verdict, it was so cool because he was explaining how he was giving mental health advice for the people that felt that James Holmes didn't get the death penalty, didn't get a good enough sentence. And he went and walked everybody through it for like 2 hours. He talked. He was wonderful. You think Alec Murdoch's judge was good, which he was. But this judge, Carlos Samore, I think he's not even a judge anymore on the jury trials. I think he is on some kind of appellate court or some kind of Supreme Court for Colorado or something. He's really good. But if you could watch that trial, it was worth it. But anyway, yeah, so he was like a really good judge. But this judge, I can't remember his name, but he wasn't so good. I didn't care for him. But anyway, so then there was the fact that trial was so bizarre. Carly Gregg, I mean, her grandparents were like super, super supportive. And they were Ashley's parents. And I'm sure there's a way. I luckily have never been faced with it. But I'm sure there's a way that you could support your granddaughter who killed your daughter in a way that wasn't as loving and supportive as they were, because it was almost like Ashley didn't even matter. It was very strange. And then Heath, he was another weirdo, because I can understand him supporting Carly because of Ashley and his love for her. But he looked over at her a couple of times in the trial and said, yeah, we're good now. And like was almost beaming and mouthing I love you to her, even though a lot of people think there was something going on there. I don't think so. I think he just did love her, and for Ashley's sake was wanting to be supportive. But yeah, so that's my take on the Carly Gregg trial. It was really worth a rewatch, in my opinion. I wish I could figure out a way to do lives that I would be able to rewatch a trial and have the people that wanted to be there, not real live, because it was live happening now. You're going to get so many idiots. But if you had just a couple of your subs come in and watch a trial with you, I think that'd be so much fun. But I wouldn't do it. For one thing, it's too many things I'd have to operate, and I could never do that, ever. I mean, you just have no idea. I don't know what the opposite of a multitasker is. I guess it's a barely one task master. That's me. And secondly, I don't trust YouTube with all their copyright. I don't understand that at all, because so many times you'll see these content creators re-airing all this content that already aired, and they don't get any copyright strikes. And then one time I was watching a channel, and they were airing something, and all of a sudden it went blank, and the channel creator was like, uh-oh. And I mean, first of all, or before first of all, I can't even believe that content creators allow themselves to be so tied to Google, knowing that if they do something that is, like for instance, something that is against, terms of service, they can get canceled. I mean, imagine putting your life's blood into building and growing your channel, and then you do something that you weren't even aware of is not allowed. You could be just shut down. And it's like, who would ever want to have something that's that tenacious, tenable? I don't know. I wouldn't. But, I mean, just for instance, this is something that a lot of channel creators better realize, because with all of this Ruby Frankie and all of these, I forget the other channel creator that got sued recently because she had a good channel and she would have her kids and their kids' friends would come on, and all of a sudden she got sued and lost millions of dollars. And I don't know if her channel got shut down, but probably so, because of child labor laws. And can you imagine, you see some of your channel creators now, and they sometimes have their child come on and just kind of walk through or start talking. I mean, there's one car channel that I used to watch like crazy. I think it was Micah Drives or something, and he has had his little daughter from the time she was like 2 in the back seat. Now she's like 12. And he's been, and his wife in the front seat, and they've been reviewing cars for years and years. And I'll bet you, if YouTube wanted to be a dick about it, for lack of a better word, that would violate the child labor laws. Oh, why can't I say that line? Child labor laws and all the new rules that they're putting on regarding filming of children. I mean, it's just crazy. And so I think there's a lot of creators that, parade their little kid out because they're so cute. I mean, there's a shorts channel where all this girl does, and I don't know the name of the channel, but I'm just like, really? The baby was born like 6 months ago, and all she does is make shorts, and she's got like 50 million followers of her baby. They don't tune in for her. And I'm like, okay, she's headed towards a disaster for sure. I mean, you got to just be so careful with what YouTube considers or Google considers a violation. So for me, I would never, ever want to, just for the little bit of fun that it might be, to rewatch a trial and have a live where people, of like-minded just kind of show up and we kind of watch some of the good parts. Like I said, I could never do it because I could never skip around to the good parts. Y'all would be sitting there and we would be watching quarters on break for 15 minutes, and there'd be no way that I'd know how to fast forward through that. Because YouTube, oh my God, I hate them. I don't know. On the computer, I can kind of do it. But on my phone, YouTube has changed something on the phone app. And so when you try to fast forward, you wind up on the next video. And then if you try to go back and you're saying, okay, well, I'm 38 minutes into it, so let me go 2 minutes ahead. Well, sometimes it is 2 minutes ahead, but then sometimes all of a sudden it jumps to what is behind. And I don't know about you, but when I watch a YouTube video on my phone, I don't freaking touch anything. I just let it play. If it's going to break for 20 minutes, well, I sit there for 20 minutes with nothing on because, again, I know it's probably mostly me, but it is so what I call user unfriendly. And I can't figure it all out. So, I mean, if nothing else, there'd be a lot of comedic value if I were trying to, play a YouTube video of a trial and we were trying to comment on it. But I could never do it. It would just be too involved. And I watch some of these content creators that have like a whole staff. And I'm like, even with a whole staff, I couldn't do it. So, but too bad, because some of these trials are worth a second and third watch for sure. But anyway, that's all I have. I just wanted to update y'all. A couple of people have asked me where I've been, and I'm around. I just, trying to like I said, trying to surround myself with positive things or things that aren't too negative, put it that way. All right, y'all. Thanks. Bye now.